at 15 seconds. Guidance is internal. 12, 11, 10, 9. Ignition.
5 F-1 rocket engines lifted Apollo 11 towards the first moon landing and then fell with the first stage into the Atlantic Ocean. Amazon owner Jeff Bezos recovered them and sent them to the Cosmosphere, a museum in Hutchinson, Kansas, to be restored.
The Cosmosphere is one of the more unique science education centers, not only in the country but in the world. We maintain a collection of U.S. artifacts as well as former Soviet artifacts that put this museum in a position to be able to tell the story of how man got to the moon and the race that was carried out to get there.
In the process, the museum developed a less glamorous and little-known restoration and replica center. It became so good that most of the spacecraft replicas for the movie Apollo 13 were built there.
The Cosmosphere operates a division called SpaceWorks. This division has been a part of the Cosmosphere since the early 80s. We bring together craftsmen who are very talented and very skilled, but also have the ability to do many different things. And then by the 90s, as that expertise had built up and notoriety had grown, Hollywood came calling.
Houston, we have a problem.
Fade in. All right, quiet, please. Here we go.
Ron Howard called upon the Cosmosphere to help produce the set props and set hardware for his movie Apollo 13.
In 2012, Jeff Bezos funded a research project to find Saturn engines at the bottom of the Atlantic.
A 5-year-old during the launch of Apollo 11, Jeff Bezos remembered watching that, and it was inspirational to him. And so what he thought of was bringing up the F-1 engines from the bottom of the Atlantic.
Recently, a promotional company called JVS in Prague, Czechoslovakia, asked for a replica of the Apollo 11 command module for its world tour of space gear.
We hadn't built a command module in a couple of years, and so it was almost like getting the band back together.
No big deal, says Dale Capps of the museum's SpaceWorks division. They can whip up a command module in no time.
We've done command modules before, so it's like the third or fourth one we've done. So we're kind of used to them now. And when we're all done, if the astronauts can't tell if it's real or not, then we've done a good job.
Sean Crow, who built replicas of the crew couches, marvels at the amount of stuff aerospace engineers crammed into the tiny capsule.
How did they get around obstacles, putting so much equipment in such a small space? And it's not just a small space, it's a small conical space. The couches had to actually fold up and fold under each other for stowage out of the way during the flight. It's just amazing some of the stuff they did.
Jim Franco reconstructed the command module's control panel and has met many astronauts over the years.
There's probably about 60 panels in this thing. I wouldn't even guess. I'd have to count for switches and fuses. Everything's made by hand. I'd call it smoke and mirrors because everything has to look real. Very little of it is. Nothing hooked up. Doesn't fly. They had a Gemini capsule here, and Jim Lovell come in, and they said, well, what do you think? And he says, it still smells the same, and then got down off the ladder. A lot of them will not get back in. It is. It's fun. It's fun. That and you get to meet a lot of neat people.
The command module replica is currently in Rome. Next time you're at the movies and see spacecraft, there's a good chance the movie set was made in Hutchinson, Kansas. Al Marsh, AOPA Live.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. Roger, Tranquility. We copy on it.